everybody, it's me, your buddy Dave from thedarkstuff.com and the Dark Stuff channel here on YouTube. Now, today's video is something that I've really wanted to do for a while, but I just kind of kept putting it off. So, on numerous occasions, sometimes even here on the channel, I've declared Jenny Lewis to be my favorite songwriter of the 2000s. I usually say the 21st century.
I've heard it both ways.
So I can remember distinctly the first time that I ever heard the music of Jenny Lewis and her voice. And back 20 years ago or so, my friends and I used to have a mixtape club back in the days of making mixtapes, where each month one person makes the mix, makes 11 other copies, sends them out to everybody else, and we all take a turn. Eventually that morphed into a mix CD club. Well, one of the mixes, probably about 2003, somebody put the song With Arms Wide Open from Rilo Kiley on the mix, and I heard it for the first time, heard Jenny's voice, was immediately interested, just absolutely loved it. I've been a huge fan of her ability to move seamlessly through numerous different genres and styles. She's an amazing, amazing singing voice, which lends itself really well to pop, to rock, to country, to electronic music, pretty much any other style that you could imagine. Strangely enough, I've never done a video on Jenny Lewis. I've been a fan of hers for 20 years. I've been doing this channel for almost 10 at this point. But I saw her in concert the other night at the Admiral here in Omaha on the Joy Y'all Ball World Tour. And it was a fantastic show, as usual. Seen her plenty of times, in the past. But rather than just reviewing the concert, I decided that I'm going to do a little bit of a catalog discussion on her albums, because there's so much good stuff out there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about her solo records, and I'm gonna intersperse it with some live video and some photos from the show that I saw, and I'll actually tell you about what was played at the show, because it was pretty cool. Okay, but before I get into talking about Jenny Lewis's solo records and the show the other night, let's talk about what she did before her solo career, and I made a little video talking about that stuff. Jenny Lewis began her career in the late 80s when she was a successful child actor. She appeared on TV shows like The Golden Girls, Mr. Belvedere, Growing Pains, Roseanne, and many others. She also appeared in movies like Troop Beverly Hills, starring Shelley Long, fresh off her time on the hit show Cheers.
Troop Beverly Hills.
Now she's changing her style.
Well, girls, are you ready to rough it?
The Wizard, Big Girls Don't Cry, They Get Even, Little Boy Blue, and many others. Her IMDb page lists over 60 credits. By the late 90s, with her acting career slowing down, she decided to pursue her real passion, music. She teamed up with fellow former child actor Blake Sennett, known for appearances in Salute Your Shorts, Boy Meets World, among others, to form Rilo Kiley. Sennett and Lewis were romantically involved, but the band actually outlasted their relationship, which supposedly ended around 2002. Rilo Kiley's musical output falls into the category of quality over quantity. During the band's run, Rilo Kiley only released 4 proper studio albums. There was also an early EP and a compilation of outtakes and B-sides that was released posthumously. On the first 2 of the band's albums, 2001's Takeoffs and Landings and 2002's The Execution of All Things, all songs were listed as co-writes between Jenny Lewis and Blake Sennett. And they split the lead vocals not quite 50-50, but with Jenny usually taking a slight majority. After becoming friends with Conor Oberst from Bright Eyes, Rilo Kiley recorded its second album, The Execution of All Things, for Omaha's Saddle Creek Records. Omaha was a huge buzz city at the time, with artists like Bright Eyes, The Faint, and Cursive, all making some of the best music of the era. In the title track, Jenny jokingly refers to jumping on the Omaha bandwagon of the time by singing, "Then we'll go to Omaha to work and exploit the booming music scene."
We'll go to Omaha to work and exploit the
The band moved to Warner Brothers for their final 2 records. In 2004, they released More Adventurous. The album gave Rilo Kiley the most exposure they ever had. In my humble opinion, the song Portions for Foxes from the record is one of the best songs of the 2000s and a personal favorite of mine of all time. While notorious rock critic Robert Christgau declared the song It's a Hit to be his choice for Song of the Year for 2004. In between More Adventurous and the band's 4th album, 2007's Under the Blacklight, both Lewis and Sennett worked with other people and made albums outside of the band. Jenny's debut solo album received near universal praise and put a larger spotlight on her than had been there ever before. Once returning to Rilo Kiley, there was clearly a different dynamic within the band, and Jenny Lewis became the dominant singer by far and the band's undeniable front person. Even with these internal conflicts, the album hit number 22 on the US Billboard album charts. The album was filled with dark lyrical themes, generally detailing the underbelly of life in Hollywood and the dark side of fame. After the tour in support of the album, Rilo Kiley went on hiatus until formally breaking up in 2013. So for this video, I want to talk about Jenny's albums outside of Rilo Kiley, as well as talk about her recent concert, which was so amazing.
I've been robbed and ridiculed in daycare centers and...
Now that we know that we've laid down the predicate there for Jenny Lewis, let's actually talk about her solo music. And her outside of Rilo Kiley career, as I mentioned in that video, really started with this record here, which is called Rabbit Fur Coat. Sorry about that glare there. Okay, now this one is credited to Jenny Lewis with the Watson twins, and that's why some people don't consider it a solo album, although I absolutely do, because the Watson twins are great, but they're just accent. They're like extra vocals. All the songs are written by Jenny Lewis. It's a Jenny Lewis solo album. The album was released in 2006 on the Team Love label. Now, Team Love was a small independent label that was created by Conor Oberst of Bright Eyes, and as I mentioned him in the earlier part of the Rilo Kiley story, it was his and Mike Mogus, also of Bright Eyes and a producer, their encouragement that got Jenny Lewis to try to do a solo album in the first place. So there was some time off between Rilo Kiley records, and they took this particular opportunity. Now, the album is her absolute best. It's my favorite thing that she's done her entire career, okay? It is such a unique, brilliant, soulful album. It's almost like she refers to it as soul music, okay? But if I say it's soul music, that's going to conjure up some different kind of ideas about what the sound is. It doesn't sound like what you think of with soul music. It's almost like a gospel album, okay? It has a gospel feel to it, in my opinion. But it is not a religious gospel album. In fact, there's a song on here called Born Secular. And to further bring home the point, I mean, that it's not a gospel album about like Jesus and whatever. I mean, Jenny Lewis herself is Jewish, but she does talk about Born Secular, and so it's not like a Jewish gospel album. Don't get the wrong idea. It's not at all. I mean, Rise Up With Fists was the first single. It's still probably the best song on there. The Big Guns is an incredible one. These are songs that she still plays in her concerts today. In addition to that Born Secular song, they also do a cover of Handle With Care by the Traveling Wilburys, and Conor Oberst comes on, and I want to say it's Ben Gibbard from Death Cab is the other vocal on it, but great. So there you go. That's her first one. Next up is 2008's Acid Tongue, and this, I guess if you want to be a stickler for technicality, was actually the first solo Jenny Lewis album because there's no Watson twins on this one. It also came out on Warner Brothers, and this was the first album post Rilo Kiley. Although Rilo Kiley hadn't officially broken up in 2008, their last album was in 2007, and it was pretty much all but inevitable that they broke up. It just was a couple years down the road before it became formal. The album was co-produced by Jenny and Jonathan Rice, and her and Jonathan Rice became collaborators, and they became romantically entangled, and they worked together for many years after this. They recorded the album in an adjacent studio to where Elvis Costello and the Imposters were making their album Momofuku, which, by the way, despite the stupid name, is a really, really great album. So wouldn't you know it, Elvis Costello appears on the album, as do the Imposters. Paz Linchanton, who up until about 2 weeks ago was in the Pixies, she just recently got fired. Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes is on it. M. Ward, who has also worked with her as a producer on Rabbit Fur Coat on some of the songs. Mike Mogus did some of the songs. And Zooey Deschanel, who M. Ward and Zooey Deschanel are together with the group called She and Him. My favorite song on the record is absolutely the tune Carpetbaggers. It's a fantastic tune that is sort of a duet with Elvis Costello, and Elvis is in the video too. It is just first rate. And then, of course, because he appeared on her record, Jenny Lewis appears on Momofuku. So she's on like 2 or 3 tracks doing backup vocals on that album as well. Technically, this isn't a Jenny Lewis solo album either. This is credited to Jenny and Johnny. It's the aforementioned Jonathan Rice. Of course, with her, the album is called I'm Having Fun Now. It is the one and only album credited to Jenny and Johnny. It's a true collaboration between both of them. They wrote, produced all of the songs. 2 former members of Rilo Kiley come in and play music on it. So that's a nice little feature on it. It's fantastic. I mean, the song The Big Wave is really great. I mean, every one of these is good. So again, it's going to be difficult to find her playing any of the songs from this in any future concert or whatever, but I still advise picking it up. This is a fantastic record, Jenny and Johnny.
And I'll be a liberty.
Jenny Lewis returned in 2014 with this album, The Voyager. Okay. Now, this album was mostly produced by Ryan Adams, but there are some of the songs that are also produced by Jenny Lewis with Jonathan Rice. Jonathan Rice, still part of the team. They recorded the album in LA, and it features a lot of great guest stars, including Beck, Benmont Tench from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. He's the keyboardist. The band First Aid is on it, and a bunch of other guest stars. So probably this is maybe her best known album. I don't know. It does have the song Just One of the Guys, which is fantastic. She's Not Me is excellent. Slippery Slopes is the absolute best. But Just One of the Guys features a video with a lot of her famous friends. So it's got like Anne Hathaway is in it, Kristen Stewart, and a couple other famous people are in the video. But it's probably her biggest single or hit, for lack of a better term, since Rilo Kiley, I would say.
After all we've been through.
Well, somewhere between 2014's The Voyager and 2019's On the Line, the relationship between Jenny and Johnny ended. Okay, so no more Jonathan Rice in the picture. So you might want to say this album On the Line is a bit of a breakup album, and that's kind of how it's billed, although not as directly as, say, like Foolish by Superchunk, which is clearly about the breakup of the relationship with Mac and Laura. This is a little bit more vague, and you don't really have to know any of that stuff to, appreciate the album, of course. Now, some of this album was produced by Beck, but again, she worked with Ryan Adams as a producer on this particular one. Now, you might know that around this time, 2019 or so, is when the Me Too movement caught up with Ryan Adams. Turns out that he was allegedly a kind of a lecherous scumbag to a lot of people. When the allegations came out, Jenny Lewis was pressed like, well, are you still going to put out this album because he's a part of it, and aren't you going to get rid of it? And this is her quote, and it's important. And she says, the allegations are so serious and shocking and really fucked up, and I was so sad on so many levels when I heard. I hate that he's on this album, but you can't rewrite how things went. We started the record together 2 years ago, and he worked on it. We were in the studio for 5 days. Then he pretty much bounced, and I had to finish the album by myself. Okay, so there you go. She wasn't going to get rid of this stuff, but she also made it pretty clear she had distanced herself from Ryan Adams. Having said all that, the album is still really, really great. There are appearances from Ringo Starr, You might have heard of him from the Beatles. You've also got Benmont Tench again from the Heartbreakers. Jim Keltner, one of the most known session drummers of all time. Don Was. Beck is on it again. Of course, all sorts of people. So again, this is the 2019 album, On the Line. Best known song from this one is probably Red Bull and Hennessy. That's the name of the song.
Shot a good love. I got a puppy.
So Jenny's most recent album, Joy Y'all, came out in 2023. It was my number 8 album of the year last year. And I talked a little bit about it, about how I find her lyrics very, very relatable. Now, on this new album, it's a little bit happier, obviously, than On the Line. It's not a breakup album. It's now been a few years. I sense in the themes something about, some songs are about maybe getting older and sort of changing priorities and stuff like that. The sound of it, though, does kind of have a little bit of a country-ish vibe. The producer is a guy named Dave Cobb, and he's best known for working in the country field. Chris Stapleton, Brandy Carlisle, Sturgill Simpson, people like that. I mean, I'd be reluctant to refer to it as a country album, but it is definitely country-tinged pop. Another great record. Jenny hasn't made a bad record, as we've just discussed. So let's talk about the show really quickly. So it was quite good. Now, I've seen her before. She did Maha in 2019, and I worked that festival. And actually, one of my favorite all-time photos is a photo where my little 1-year-old nephew was playing ball with Jenny Lewis. So the show opened with a short set from a guy named Hayden Pettigo. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He was a solo acoustic guitarist. Very talented guy. Just wasn't sure what was going on with that. It was unusual to see a solo acoustic guitarist before sort of a pop artist, but whatever. So the show starts, and Jenny's immediately opening with a track off of the aforementioned Rabbit Fur Coat album, The Favorite. And her band is all women, and they're all good singers too, because there are the stuff off the Watson Twin stuff does require almost like a gospel-y kind of a choir singing along part, and they all at some point or along the line sing as well as play all their instruments. She probably played like 4 or 5 songs off the new record, maybe 4 or 5 songs off of On the Line, and then a smattering of older songs. I was surprised, though, that unless I missed it, she didn't actually do any Rilo Kiley songs in this set. Now, every once in a while, that does come up. She will play like maybe one during the show. So despite not playing any Rilo Kiley songs, she did do one cover song, at least, that I remember, and it was the song Lust for Life by Girls. Yeah, there's such a cool cover, so completely unexpected, and what a really great song. And it prompted me to play it the next week on my radio show, just FYI. So the show closed with a couple of greats, Just One of the Guys, Acid Tongue. I think she played Love Feel in there too. But that was the 3-song encore. But just absolutely phenomenal, whether Jenny was sort of doing the front person type of thing, just walking around with a hand mic, or playing a guitar, or playing behind the keyboards or whatever. I mean, she did it all. The band was extremely talented. It was such a great show. I wanted to get some merch right after the show, but the only sweatshirt they had was yellow. It was yellow. I'm sorry. I can't. I mean, I don't. Yellow doesn't work for me in terms of that. And I said something to the gal working the merch, and I said, "Oh man, I like the design, but I don't know. Yellow just is not a color that works for me." And she goes, "You don't know how many times I hear that every day." Funny stuff. I mean, unless you're into death metal or whatever, I think almost anyone can find something to like in Jenny Lewis's music. So I hope this video here gave you a little, whet your appetite. Maybe you want to go and try out one of the records. Again, my favorite is Rabbit Fur Coat, but that doesn't mean it has to be your favorite. I'd actually recommend, if you're brand new to Jenny Lewis, try the album The Voyager, or maybe even try More Adventurous by Rilo Kiley, one of the two. Okay, I'll leave you with one more live clip from Jenny Lewis. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Take care.
Nobody helps alive. Nobody helps alive.
So, you have a MySpace page or something?